Okay, welcome. It is March 3rd, 2023. So, yesterday we talked about breaking this high and causing a rally, right? So, that was kind of my thoughts going into the day, right? So, um, just a little chat I'm in. Pre-market ideas. Basically, I kind of give myself little things that I think may happen, what I'm watching for, and it's good to keep track of your ideas so that you kind of know how often you're right directionally on the day trend. And then it makes it a lot easier to plan your trades, right? Like rather than wasting energy trying to short a trend day, you're looking to join long, right? So basically, I was wrong on the lows from yesterday. Cleared 29, 925 and went higher. I was wrong about the first hour. I think it took till the afternoon, but perhaps the bottom's in, right? So that's what I kind of thought yesterday. 925, 945 did give a nice short. But today I was thinking at 6:35 a.m. EST, I was thinking if we clear 145, we can be set up for a trend day. There's a downtrend line on the hourly right here for 145. So 145 can be the reshort, but I'm thinking we trend higher today. Mostly be looking to buy dips. Over 145 will push us back to 250 or higher, probably 345-ish. And I was a little off on the 345. I think it went to like 320, something like that. We'll have a look at the charts after. And if we fail 145, we'll be looking for shorts, right? Because that's basically a failed breakout. But 145 been tested multiple times in the last few sessions, and we pushed higher, okay? So this is the daily. This was the 925 here. Oops. This is the 925, 930, 925, right around there, whatever. And broke down and reclaimed it. So to me, that's a failed breakdown on the daily. Reclaimed, and then we had that nice little kind of squeeze yesterday from 925, and it gave us at least about 150 points to the highs, and then overnight it was basically dip buying in Globex, and we'll go through that. But so right now, as people are shorting, if they're looking for longer terms, they're maybe taking some profits and then keeping their runner stops just above the highs of each day, or they're reshorting closer and closer to each high. So what happens is when we have failed breakdown and it reclaims, it maybe doesn't have the energy that day to get over those highs, but what it does do is it gives you an easy kind of idea for like an early entry, right? So you have this like right there, 96. As it breaks over that's kind of showing strength into the day, right? And it's making a higher high. So people see that and they're starting to take profits from, people that were maybe short in here. Maybe they're like, okay, I might get a chance to reshort higher up here. It doesn't mean their stance in the market changes. They may be bearish or whatever still, but they're probably gonna stop out and look to reposition. So, and then that's what happens, and you get a trend day. And now what we need to see on a trend day, the trend now in the interim is up, right? And so now we want to see what happens. Where's it going to reject, right? So right here, we have a little peak here and kind of into like right in this range, right? And that's where we ended up rejecting, right? So this is going to be kind of resistance where sellers will be active. And now we got to see, right? It's hard to short a trend day because there's nothing really to risk to except for on a really higher time frame. So like right now, if you're getting short in here for a longer term, you almost have to risk versus these highs, right? And that's too much risk for most people, especially with small accounts, right? Like you're not going to risk that many points, right? So they have to wait for an intraday kind of pivot to form, or an intraday high, so that you have something to risk too. And that's when you see like lower highs, lower lows, that's kind of the confirmation of maybe the trend is going to roll. But very tough on a trend day. You're much better when you see something like this to just try and join trend. And it can get really, in a bear market and stuff too, because everyone's very heavily short, you can squeeze up very quickly because there's just so much short activity. Okay, so that's enough of the daily. Let's go into the day. So let's start with Globex. And let's just go to the 5 for a minute. So this is the Globex open here. I was trying to bid 1200, but I missed my fill and I never looked at it again overnight. So I was about 10, 11 points off on the bid, which makes sense. I should have been not so greedy trying to get the 1200 fill. But basically people are risking versus these lows, right? 1200 is a nice hold number. So basically you're getting front ran. We put in the 96 high yesterday, and then most of Globex was pretty consolidation-y until London opened, right? So London basically bought the dip, risking versus this low, came up, we cleared the 50 and never came back to it. Trended higher, got a little rejection near 100. Very brief sell, popped over, and then it came back down, right? So this could be a failed breakout, right? So if in here, if we would have came up, tested, and rejected and had some decent sell, other shorts would probably join in, but that didn't occur, and it was reclaimed very shortly after, right? There's also, I think, a little trend line here that you can kind of see. So very low risk long to join in here, and then it marched up right before the open. Okay, so let's just zoom in on Globex to the 1 quickly and see if there's anything interesting. I didn't watch the Globex session last night at all, really, but same thing, kind of had a little bit of a push here, shorts into 1250. These levels were drawn last night. There was support here, small little sell right at the open, and then it just couldn't get over that, right? People were not interested in buying so high up, and then they started to accumulate overnight, right? Inventory got long, and then it pushed us forward, right? Shorts kind of got fucked. So pretty interesting. We did have some decent sells off 50, but only about 30 points or so, and it just never ever really went anywhere. Found support on the trend line and marched higher, consolidation, and up. Okay, so let's go to regular trading. Okay, so again, we opened gap up, about not like a crazy gap, which is better, I think, when it's not like way up here, like a 200 point gap. It was only about, what was it, 70 points, 80 points. So not crazy, right? So there's a little profit taking at the open, and it didn't even come back and test the 100. It's testing basically the pre-market highs were in there, like at 1010 or so, and it's holding above, and it's kind of your key to get long, right? Try long, because it didn't even go down to fill the gap, right? So buyers are interested right away, and then we claim 145, and we have a nice quick breakout, right? So first hour, almost 100 point move into 12195, followed by a sell, and then support onto 145. It did dip a little lower, but it was quickly snapped up, and I think that ends up actually being the 615 retracement, which, oh no, it's the 786. So I love to use these fibs on trend days. You don't know where it's going to bounce, if it's at the 0.5, the 0.618, or the 0.786, but I always kind of keep an eye on them. And if it matches up with price action, right, it's good for reloads, right? So you kind of got the high here at 40. So if you filled in there with a 10, 15 point stop, you would have been okay. Or even you fill after it touches down there, and then that's your risk, is versus that low, right? So kind of interesting. That worked out like that. It works out quite often. because it did actually lose VWAP, I believe. Like if we put anchor VWAP to the first candle, it did lose VWAP. And then I think even from the lows, the most recent low, so it did lose VWAP, and then it reclaims. So that ends up being quite bullish for the day, right? So 145 pushes into 195. Again, I would avoid shorting this on a trend day. You know, we're higher lows, and it's pushing up there. You know, if you miss this move, I'd be trying to join long in here, looking for some points, right? You had a nice 40-point move before it kind of sold off. And does that end up being the extension? I don't really use the extensions or anything too much, but no, it didn't end up being an extension. Okay, so then 10 o'clock, 10:30, you know, these are kind of market change, potential for trend change, and then it kind of gets really choppy price action in here, right? A couple failed breakdowns. This one again is a fib, right to the 615, right? So bullish. So price is getting stronger, right? Last time it bounced on the 786, now it's bouncing on the 618 and grinding higher, right? You know, like if you got long in here and you're risking versus low, you got stopped out real sneakily, and then it reclaimed, and then you same with here. So you got to be careful. Basically, after this low is established, you have to try and risk versus this low. You don't want to risk versus this low because it's way too far down, but once this is established, you got to kind of risk versus it. So initially, you'd probably be risking versus this, plus a little bit. I don't know if that's in your risk tolerance, but not in mine. Usually, like I say, I have a 12 to 15 point stop. So depending on where I filled, I probably would have stopped there if I was still trading. Reclaims, and then basically you want to try and fill versus this, right? So this level becomes, it's important, but it's not so important because we've seen action over it. Until we make like significantly lower lows, the trend is still up, right? I think it kind of has a trend line here. You can kind of, oops, I'll just turn this magnet off. So there's kind of a trend line there. So again, comes into the trend line. Out here, your risk is very high for longs. As it reapproaches the trend line, it kind of works out better, right? Your risk is reduced, and then it grinds higher. Okay, so what happens after that? Basically, the consolidation occurs. There's quite a bit of selling, and again, it fails to break down. So people see that anyone short from these areas, they kind of give up, start taking profits, and then once we start making higher highs, it kind of squeezes, does a little bit more consolidation, right? There should actually probably be a level here at about 130, 135, where this high was formed with the 255. It did end up being important for support, but there could have also been a level there. I try not to keep them so tight. Anyways, it pops that and it grinds higher, and then again more consolidation, grinds higher. So that's kind of that's the trend with trend days, and you just got to kind of find something to risk versus and join in. If you try to do shorts, you can short it. You know, especially on fast moves like this, into extremes, into levels that haven't been tested in a while. Your risk reward is probably pretty good, but you just got to remember you might not get that follow through. So like for me, I like ideally level to level moves are at least 2/3 of the level. You know, if I'm risking 12 to 15 points, I want, you know, between 36 and 45 points minimum, but I will take 1 to 2 depending. So if I'm playing pullbacks on a trend day or something like that, I won't be so greedy with taking profits, right? I won't really keep too many runners or anything. I don't usually keep runners anyways. I usually take full size and go for whatever I'm aiming for. Okay. Yeah, so basically once we had the 145 break, it was on all night, and then over the previous day's high are about around 100. We're opening above that, so we're opening above resistance, likely to go higher, right? If we would have opened and made a lower high than this opening candle and it rolled down, filled the gap, is also a possibility before trending higher, right? Because it comes down to easy risk, right? And if buyers are interested with the easy risk, it'll grind back up. If it comes down and it goes past the gap, usually it's probably going to roll over. But the market did need a bounce. It had quite a few down days in a row. So does it continue? I don't know. I would like to see a little bit higher. Let's look at the weekly in there. So nothing really major is going to happen until over 800 over these highs, but we could definitely come up to 610. But again, this weekly high here, people are maybe going to try and get short into these areas. So we'll have to see what Globex does on Sunday night. But I'm not sure. Like I say, I don't try and predict exactly how far it's going to go. I just kind of look for areas where I can manage risk. I wouldn't be surprised for a little bit more continuation, at least in Globex, and then maybe a gap down reversal on Monday. I think it's going to come back up and test this 200-day moving average. I think that's what I have it set at. SMA 200. I don't really use moving averages very often. So we'll see. Yeah, and I think that's it. I don't think there was really anything else too interesting. A few failed breakdowns into close. I kind of expected a little bit of profit taking in here or a very quick push into 350, but we kind of got neither. Had the algo candle at 350, stopped out a bunch of people, and then everyone got long versus it and got a little bit of a 20-30 point move into the close. So pretty interesting nonetheless. Usually I used to be really bad at trend days. I used to be really like, oh, I can't keep going. Short it. And then, 12 point stop. Rather than just kind of being patient, waiting for something like this to happen or something like a failed breakout where you have something easy to risk to join in, right? Or waiting for, it to come back, test a trend line or test a fib or, something like this from the recent low, anchor view app, easy place to join in from this low, easy places to join in, right? Like, look how well that works using the swing lows. So, and then even here on this consolidation, I better balance it actually to a candle. Same kind of thing, right? So it's kind of, in this example here, let's clear everything off so you can see, right? So let's zoom in. So we got, this is regular VWAP. And then the highs that we make, right? It's kind of squeezing right in between them, right? Sellers are trying to kind of accumulate up higher. Buyers are trying to accumulate down here by the regular VWAP, right? So always good to use VWAP as a guide. I don't use it so much during the first hour, but after the first hour, especially in a trend day, I find it can offer you lots of really good setups. And I usually don't keep them on my chart, but I like to snap them regularly just to get ideas of plays, right? Like if I was, maybe I missed that move and I'm looking for something in the afternoon, I got this. It's kind of in 1220, so kind of a area of support, right? So I might just try and get long in here, risking a fixed amount, risking 12 points, and seeing if I can get that level to level move, right? 30 points. So that's almost a 1 to 3 risk reward, pretty close. That's a trade worth taking, right? Especially because the trend is in your favor. So again, no one watches these, but if anyone is interested in watching them and wants to talk about the market or questions, comments, or correct me on something that I'm wrong about, or give me another point of view, I'm definitely open to all feedback. I'm always trying to learn and get better. So yeah, I hope everyone has a good weekend. Take care.